There's nothing else like Poverty Point. It really would have been one of those wow kind of places.
Poverty Point truly is like no other place in the world. In terms of historical significance, Poverty Point Historical Site is akin to Stonehenge, the pyramids at Giza, and the Great Wall of China, except Poverty Point is right here in North Louisiana and dates back some 3,500 years ago.
You have nothing like this, okay? You have hunters and gatherers living on these massive ridges, okay, in a community that is unlike anything else for its time, okay? And they're building the biggest earthen monuments, okay? So that's what makes this place really stand out. UNESCO thought so. Louisiana certainly thinks so, and so should you.
And one of the most amazing things, I think, in addition to the earthworks, is that there's no naturally occurring stone here at Poverty Point. So all of the rock that they needed for their tools and ornaments had to be brought in, sometimes over great distances. And you've got the amazing artifacts that they made with those materials. This is a jasper owl pendant. You can see it's been drilled through there to wear as a pendant. You can see its eyes, its beak, teeny tiny little feet.
So that's a nice little flake. So you can see if I can find it, yeah. Think back 3,500 years here in this case. People on these two continents, North and South America, don't smelt, right? They don't have iron or bronze. They use copper, but they didn't forge it into anything. So to make all of your tools that were useful, right, for the most part, you're going to use stone. So this is a process that I'm doing here that's called flint knapping. So you're going to take a rough piece of stone, and in this case they would have had to import it from over 100 miles away. This is an evacuate that comes out of present-day Arkansas. So first of all, you had to acquire it. You had to import it. You had to go out in a boat or on a trail and travel for hundreds of miles. You bring it back here to this place, and then you try and make something useful out of it, like one of these spear points, for instance. So that's kind of what we do mostly here with a flint knapping demonstration. But I'm going to take this rough piece of stone, and I'm going to use this billet, okay, made out of deer antler, to send force through ridges in the stone to take off flakes. And the more and more I do this, the thinner this stone will be, and within maybe an hour or so, I'll get to this point. This is called a preform, and it's basically an unfinished spear point. You just need to do fine retouching to this. But it is kind of a cool process. When you visit Poverty Point and you walk into the museum, you won't see a single arrowhead, not at this place. Okay, you'll find lots of spear points though. You don't have bows and arrows used this early on because these mounds are so old. That is, we're dealing with much more ancient technology. So I'm holding here what's called an atlatl, okay? And it comes from the Aztec language called Nahua. And it's just the best word we have for this tool. But the oldest examples date back over 20,000 years. And it was what was used by the people who built the mounds here as far as we can tell. So it gives you a very distinct advantage. When you think about throwing a spear, your arm acts as a lever. So if you extend your lever, okay, longer throwing arm, it'll give you a lot more leverage. So it makes a big difference when you're trying to hit a potentially dangerous target, right? You want a lot of distance between yourself and a bear, for instance, like you find in this area today. So you'd want something to give you that edge, and this would have been the tool for it. So you grasp onto one end, there's a hook at the other. You place into the end of your spear or your dart, okay? And then you'll grasp the spear in place using your pointer or your thumb. You'll bring it out over your shoulder, and just like throwing a baseball, you'll cast it towards your intended target. And this last case we're looking at here shows a wealth of the spear points, or more accurately projectile points, made by these people. When you see the vast array of colors, okay, different sources spanning over 1,000 miles, right? You have some of the gray flints and cherts from, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Alabama, and you can find some of the novaculite coming from Arkansas, and some of the more local stuff, the tans coming from the pebbles, maybe 30 or 40 miles away, along with the reds of heat-treated materials. So at this point, there's probably between 12 and 13,000 of these projectile points found from this single site, showing you just how many people were living here and how sedentary they were, right? Settling down for a very long time. So this map shows you an indication of where all of these goods are coming from, right? Because there is no native available stone at these mounds. So these people either had to go out and get all this stuff, or people had to bring it here for exchange. And they used rivers and waterways extensively to get this thing done, because there's nothing native here, no stone. Nearly 80 tons of it arrives on the site during the 600-year occupation, or roughly 600-year occupation. And this case gives you basically a sampling of just a few of these exchange goods that made their way here. Some things needed to travel for over 1,000 miles before they arrived at the mounds and earthworks of Poverty Point. So right here we have Mound A. Okay, that's just what it's known as by archaeologists. And it is the most obvious thing you could pick out because it is massive. At the time it was built, sometime after 1350 BC, this was the largest earthen monument on the continent, okay, in north of Mexico in North America. So it is massively significant for this reason. And what else about it? Well, I can tell you that aliens didn't build it, right? So that's one thing I hear a lot. So people did it, and that's what makes this really significant, because nothing like this was ever built by Native Americans up to this point in time. So that's what makes this really, really special. You have thousands of people moving millions of basket loads of soil to build this. Roughly, almost 400,000 tons of dirt, roughly 390,000 tons of dirt to create this single mound. 15.5 million basket loads of dirt carried on the backs of thousands of people. So Mound A is really a massive labor project. So this is something really, really big. Basically, the last time that excavations really took place here, they saw no evidence of erosion between the construction phases inside. So the idea is that it was built between 1 and 3 months, start to finish. Yeah, there are no burials here. This is not a cemetery, and there wasn't anyone living on it, to our knowledge. Unlike other parts of the site where you can find post holes from structures, here you don't find any of that, okay? It's basically just solid dirt fill, a few artifacts that were tossed in on accident while it was being built, but surely no indication of regular everyday use like some areas here. It may have been a very special place, but at least I can say that this mound was probably built to impress, okay? Without any of these other things to tell us a reason. I mean, just take a look at it, right? It was the largest thing around, okay, especially for a first-time visitor here. This would have been part of the shock and awe of what Poverty Point did to foreigners coming here to exchange goods and what have you, and just see these mounds. So maybe this is an ancient tourist attraction. Who knows?